Yeah,
All right.
we're rolling.
Thank you for coming in virtually, if not physically.
Good to
And
always be with you. Good to see you.
great. Good to see you too. All right. So, you have supported the Bipartisan Background Checks Act and the Enhanced Background Checks Act. Could you tell
Yes.
me about these?
Well, on the heels of um, such a outpouring of energy from young people after Parkland, who did so much to highlight the urgent need to have real legislation that addresses the fact that we are witnessing too much life lost to guns in this country. And it is long overdue that we do something to demonstrate that not only are we aware of this fact, but that we want to change the outcomes. And when you have 90% of folks who have been crying out for universal background checks, it should be a no-brainer. And so when we passed HR 8 in the House, we were able to do something that, in my opinion, was long overdue. And that was ensure that all gun sale purchases have to meet a background check. Now, there are some exceptions, between relatives, or if you're loaning a gun at a shooting range or hunting, you're out there hunting with your friends. But as far as sales, no matter where that sale is happening, it is important that we understand the background of those individuals making that purchase. The other bill, which closes the Charleston loophole, which addresses what happened in South Carolina tragically, almost I think 5 years ago now, to those individuals who were there and praying in church and lost their lives, to somebody who not only obviously had uh, um, some darkness in his heart, but the way the law was written, because his background check had not cleared within 3 days, he was automatically able to purchase or receive the firearm. So this bill would close that loophole and extend the time from 3 days to 10 days. Wait an extra 7 more days just to make sure that we keep guns out of the hands of people who don't have any business possessing them.
Right, these both make perfect sense.
Yes, they do,
Um,
and they're supported broadly. These are bills that have wide bipartisan support. I'm talking 90+% of the population supports these endeavors.
how long do you think it'll take for a Senate vote?
Well, that's a tough question because we passed these bills earlier last year. We've been pushing for this for some time now, and the fact of the matter is nothing's been done in the Senate. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that even something as universally desired as background checks continues to be held up, because of special interests that have certain individuals who call themselves public service servants. They're not acting in the interest of the public. They're acting in the interest of a special group of people who've made it their business to hold up progress. So, we have to change power dynamics if we really want to be in a position to move these things forward.
We have to vote them out.
That too.
Um, yes, these politicians still take money from the NRA, and why do you think that is?
Well, Maitreya, I mean, the challenge is um, we live in a world where the role of money, generally speaking, is um, far too dominant. It is in every sector prioritized and glorified. And you would hope that there would be some spaces, given the nature of the work, given how important the work is, to making sure that we all can collectively be represented appropriately, where you would do everything in your power to keep the influence of money out. But you have the exact opposite dynamic in politics, where we've allowed money to overrun the system to a degree that special interests that have significant capital are able to put immense pressure on certain individuals who feel like it is their business to have to receive these contributions in order to maintain their power. So they put their power and they put the fact that the money they receive as the only means to that power ahead of the very people that they represent. So the short answer is we have to reduce the influence of money in politics. The longer answer is we have to make sure that our electorate is incredibly informed and capable and able and willing to make change with their feet by going to the polls and, as you said, voting these folks out who are taking money from special interest groups that we know they should not be.
And you've been named a gun sense candidate by Moms Demand Action, an
Yes, I love
organization
Moms Demand
dedicated.
Action. Love them.
Yes, they're dedicated to stopping gun violence. Can you define that a bit?
How do we stop gun violence? Or what do you want me to define?
Um, Moms Demand Action and what led you two to join forces?
Well, Moms Demand Action, first of all, it's one of, I mean, that is just an incredible name, right? Moms Demand Action. I mean, I think it's so powerful, particularly action, right? The notion that we have to demand action. We have to, we don't have time anymore. We haven't had time for a long time. And it gets to a point where people are just fed up with the lack of urgency that is been far too the norm for far too long. And so, I stand with Moms Demand Action because they're on the front lines. These are individuals who've come together, a community of folk who've come together and formed an organization to say, we are going to continue to beat the drum on this. And not just do so when we are confronted with yet another heart-wrenching tragedy, where we have to witness the loss of innocence, but we're going to do it even in those quiet moments, if you will, even in those times where you don't turn the TV on or you don't go on Twitter and you don't see these stories. It's so important to continue to do that work day in and day out. And I stand with them every single step of the way. It's important that we do not only address these things when it feels like it's politically salient. It should always be salient. It should always be impactful because we're talking about our future. We're talking about you, right? And your peers, and making sure you grew up in a safe world and not have to worry about every space you go into.
Yes, there are so many reasons to feel unsafe nowadays. So many tragedies, so many things affecting us, and sometimes this could cause us to lose focus on issues like gun violence when we have other screaming issues just in our face. How do we stay focused on gun violence when there are these other screaming issues? There are these tragedies after tragedies.
Well, it's a really good question, and I think it's important to think about the meta issue, the issue that underlies why we struggle at times to deal with any number of issues, whether it's gun violence, whether it's our healthcare system, whether it's racial injustice, whether it's income inequality. The underlying dynamic that is causing problems is the role of money in politics. And we can utilize each of these examples at every instance to highlight how we've got to root out this corrupting aspect of our public square, which is meant to help us collectively do right by each other. I think it's important that we also understand that when we're talking about how we can love each other and how we can be more equitable and be more just in any way, shape, or form, we're also talking about less violence. Less violence as a general matter. And again, that can be talked about in the context of, how we deal with, the fact that there are people out there who want to hurt us or want to oppress us, or versus how we want to deal with the fact that there are people out there who should not own weapons if they can't do so in a responsible fashion. It speaks to the fact that we've got to get to a place where collectively we are more loving, more thoughtful, more caring country. And so there's always an opportunity to talk about this issue beyond just the narrow issue of gun ownership and responsibility around it. There's a broader conversation about just how we relate to each other, how we get comfortable with each other in this space, how we connect with each other. We certainly want to protect our rights, and I believe we should protect always our rights. But how we protect them and how we do so in a way that enables us to continue to grow as a community and trust each other and love each other is critically important.
Great. This has been an amazing talk. It's been kind of enlightening about which
Well,
issues
thank
to.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and talking to me about this.
Well, we've had our fair share of conversations over the last few years, and I
Yes,
just
we
have to
have.
say you have really brought so much joy to me. I think your focus, your dedication to the craft, it is a real joy to watch you blossom and continue to grow. And so you just reach out and call me anytime.
Thank you.
All right.